I am so 36 years old today. Today's like the day after my birthday, but I was born at 8:37 at night. So really somewhere, yesterday I actually officially became 36. All right, let's get to business. So I made a video probably about a week ago called Norwood 3, I am still hiding my thin hair. I guess that was at the beginning of this week. Now, June Bug Chronicles, this is probably the third comment I've made a video in response to. Here's an excerpt of something he said about that video. Quote, in your opinion, Nick, do you agree that a man in his early 20s or 30s looks younger when they completely shave their hair off or keep it extremely low, like no guard buzz cut? He goes on to say, it is a normal thing for men in their 40s to have significant hair loss, whereas keeping that look so early in life ages you dramatically, end quote. I am grateful for this comment. I think we need to discuss this. This is one of those things, I'm going to give my opinion because that was the opening first phrase, in your opinion, Nick. So I'll give my opinion, but ultimately, I think this is another great opportunity for us to collaborate in the comments and us all give feedback, because my opinion may not be up to speed with everybody else's. I don't know. So please give your own opinion, everyone, in the comments so that we can try to figure out what the general consensus of this is. Okay, so here's my clever, unique opinion that I don't think necessarily most people will agree with. So if we kind of summarize this question to be this. If you're in your 20s or 30s and you just basically shave off your hair or keep it extremely low like a number one, is that going to make you look older? Because typically men with significant hair loss are older. They're at least in their 40s. So is that basically going to kind of subconsciously make people think that you are closer to 40 if in reality you're in your 20s or 30s because you've shaved your head? Very clever question and very grateful for it. So what I'm going to say is, for me personally, not so much. For me personally, I don't think it ages a guy physically. And I know that, men that with shaved or very short buzz cuts look more dominating, look more in control, look taller, and they look older. I understand that. But for me, I'm not an expert, but I make 3 videos a day on hair loss. Obviously at this point, and probably you too, with you watching this video, we are more keen to that sort of thing when a guy shaves his head. So when I see a guy with a shaved head, the first thing I do is I assess the situation and I look for his actual hairline. Because even when it's shaved to the skin, I can see, I can tell. I look for it, not to judge them, but just to kind of figure out, like, I don't know, just to process the whole thing. It's interesting to me. But then I also, this sounds not so manly, but then the next thing I look at their eyes. You can kind of gauge someone's age by their eyes. I look at what they're wearing, because that's a good indication. A lot of people get trapped at a certain age in what as far as what they wear. Of course, I'm going to be an exception to that. I don't need to be dressing like I'm a teenager, but I don't want to get stuck looking like Chandler from Friends or something, in my mid-30s. So, for me, when I see a shaved head or a really short buzz cut, I just think, okay, there's a good chance he's experiencing, Norwood 4 or beyond at a younger age, and it's the cool thing to do it. I mean, it's so common. My nose itches really bad. It's like a bug landed on my nose. Okay. But yeah, it's just so common for me to see that I'm like, yeah, he doesn't look older than me. I also look for wedding rings. I mean, I know that sounds crazy, and I get it. Some of you are in your 30s and not married, but for me, I look at the whole thing. I mean, in 3 seconds, I can look at a guy. Sure, I can look at his hair. I can look at his wedding ring. I can look at what he's wearing, and I'm going to make an assessment of his age based on that whole thing. The hair may or may not. If it's a shaved head, sure, I'll notice that first, just because that is going to be a little bit not countercultural, but less common. So my answer is this: does it age you to be in your 20s or 30s and shave your head? Is that going to make you look older? I guess to a certain degree it will, but not in a way that's going to affect anything. I really think that those other things I mentioned are going to, for me personally, age a guy just as much, as far as knowing how old he is. Because to me, I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but even a wedding ring is going to age a guy for me, typically. Typically, people are getting married. I don't know, I got married when I was 27. And so I think that's kind of like late 20s, so that's one way to know. And then again, how he dresses and things like that. So it's a lot of things for me. And we have to keep in mind, my closing thought here, remember, we are judging ourselves and others much more strictly and specifically on hair, whereas most people are not judging men on those things. So the hair thing is just part of it, because I can look at a guy's face and tell a pretty good accurate estimate on what his age is. So that's my opinion on that, but what good is my opinion without yours? So let's talk more about this. Thank you, June Bug Chronicles, for all that you do, and for everybody watching, about to leave a comment.